Welcome. You're tuned to the Urban Affairs program. It's time to get up for Urban Perspectives with your host, Pete Rhodes.
Welcome. You're watching Urban Perspectives. I'm your host, Pete Rhodes. On this edition of Urban Perspectives, we discuss the state of Black America, growth and the contributions of the Latino community, and staying alive by keeping your heart healthy. All this on this edition of Urban Perspectives. My first guest is the congregational, shall I say, health coordinator at Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church in St. Paul. Her recent project, in conjunction with the American Heart Association, helped to bring awareness of the importance of exercise, diet, and living a healthy lifestyle. Please welcome my guest, Kelly Robinson. Hello, Kelly.
Thank you, Pete.
I'm so glad that you are here with us. You know, we had an opportunity to work on a program that I think was amazing for the congregation over at Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church. And it was with the American Heart Association and their Heart 360 program. Can you explain to the audience a little bit about what the mission of that program was?
Yes. So we actually partnered with the American Heart Association, and they were really targeting the African American congregation. And we in St. Paul have by far one of the largest. And so with that, we were able to provide them some true statistics on the blood pressures that they're seeing in African Americans. And so this study centered around checking it, making sure that those who are properly diagnosed get the treatment that they need.
Now, there were a number of different things that happened with the project, and it coordinated various events. We went around to a lot of different places. Talk to us about the importance of a healthy lifestyle, and talk about the importance of diet and cooking, because we went and made a lot of great dishes that we had a chance to experience at the end. But talk about that great healthy living lifestyle that's important for us.
Well, the thing about food is it engages everyone. And so that was by far the centerpiece. And so I think what was very interesting for the participants, and it's not only the members of Shiloh, it was also members of the community. We were able to have them actually prepare the meal and learn how to use spices, and not necessarily frying everything. So we did more baking of things that they wouldn't traditionally do. And just being conscientious of how we can change how our diet is. And they were just totally engaged. And then we dined, you know, so it was a wonderful event, and we did several classes.
The dancing classes was one of them, where individuals got a chance to step with one of the step masters here in the Twin Cities. Who was she again, and how much fun was that? Yes,
Tina Jackson. She's the instructor for Gotta Dance line dancing school. And it's a soul line dancing event, and that by far was the physical perspective, because we, of course in Minnesota, were challenged with the weather and all of that. So to bring them out, that soul line dancing just really hit home. One of the things we don't realize is that for every 15 minutes, you can burn about 100 calories. And people aren't fully aware of that.
15 minutes, that's all it takes.
Absolutely. And that's some burning, you know? So we did 2 hours of line dancing classes, and they were so engaged, they didn't even realize, you know, the physical aspect as well as burning the calories, and just a fun time.
That was the most important part I saw, was getting people to be engaged. You came out, you talked about it early on. How did you kind of put it together so that individuals, because that was a lot of work, I think, on your part.
Oh, a lot of work. I'm really honored to be a part of the Stair Step Foundation, because they are, it's headed by Reverend Alfred Babington, and you know him very well. He, from his perspective, with engaging all of the African American churches here in the Twin Cities, along with my very fine pastor, Reverend Steve Daniels, who's a part of the American Heart Association board, from the pulpit is where we were able to really draw people, because, you know, that's quite an influence. And then when you engage them and then their families see the change, so it's a chain reaction in that sense. So with those 26 churches in the Stair Step Foundation getting the message out to their congregation, my pastor, of course, embracing it totally, that was by far one of the most marketable aspects of getting people engaged.
Well, I'm sure, as I did, you saw a lot of success stories. One of your favorite ones is what?
Wow.
There
I
were
have so many.
There were a lot.
There really were. You know, there was a young man that came to our cooking class, Donald. Donald actually has since lost like 80 pounds.
From the engagement of the Heart 360 program.
Yeah, he had the intent, but sometimes people don't know how to do it. You know, but from a health perspective, he knew that he needed to lose the weight, he needed to change his eating habits, and he and his daughter, Ava, they came to the cooking classes, and if you see him now, you wouldn't even recognize him.
I remember that well.
Yeah.
How effective has these programs been, you think, overall, and will you continue to do them with American Heart?
Yes, so we have a lifelong partnership. As I said earlier, Reverend Daniels is a part of the American Heart Association board for the Twin Cities. And so it's a continuation because we're still here. People are still sick. People are undiagnosed. And even when they're diagnosed, they're not compliant. So it's an ongoing event for us in terms of changing lifestyles.
How has it changed you?
So I'm actually hypertensive myself.
Okay.
So in order to tell people take I know, like, that's the deceptive person. You know, you see, oh wow, she looks great, she's thin, and no, but you know, my pipes aren't right. You know, it's like I have a history genetically, and most people don't take that to heart. And when you know that you have a history, then you have to adhere to that to live longer and healthier. So not only am I out there encouraging, I'm actually trying to embrace it in my own life. And had to lose some weight and do some things, but you got to show by example. Yeah. Well, we want to thank you so much for being here and kind of explaining the importance of healthy living, because we really need to have that as part of our lifestyle as we move forward if we want to have a longevity in life itself. Kelly Robertson, thank you so much for being here with us on this edition. Thank you for having me. This Hispanic market that we are seeing is growing tremendously, adding vibrance to our Twin Cities urban community. You can hear about their contributions next on the Urban Perspectives. Creating a platform to understand the contributions and the power of the Hispanic community is what my next guest does as producer of the annual Hispanic Marketing Conference and publisher of Latino America. Today, please welcome Rick Aguilar. Thanks, Pete. How you doing, man? Yeah, a pleasure to be on your new show. Congratulations. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate having you here with me. You know, as we are watching, the Hispanic community in the Twin Cities is contributing and growing in leaps and bounds in their power, both economically as well, and this contributions is getting bigger as well. Can you explain to us a little bit a sampling of the current perspective on the Hispanic community? Well, if you look at the dramatic change, Pete, the 2000 census, 150,000 Latinos. If we go to 210, 250,000, and some say even more, 275,000. So, and then you add in their buying power, which is close to $4 billion here in the state of Minnesota. But another thing too that I think we don't talk enough about is their economic development efforts. Yes. You know, they come to the Twin Cities, and we had abandoned some business corridors, East Lake Street. Payne Avenue, Arcade in St. Paul, the West Side, which is now Caesar. Those were abandoned with the urban flight by the general market. But the Latinos came here, and they didn't see abandoned corridors. They saw the American dream. So I think another thing that the Latinos bring to the Twin Cities is they still want that American dream. And if you go through those corridors today, you're going to see hundreds of Latino-owned businesses that have really transformed those corridors. And sometimes we don't talk enough about that. The immigrants and their American dream. You know, we get spoiled sometimes being born and raised here in St. Paul and living this wonderful life. So I just want to bring that up. Well, I know they are contributing in a big way, and particularly as well in the economic standpoint and the business standpoint. I understand from the fact that you do an annual Hispanic marketing conference. What does that entail overall, and individuals who would come to it, what would they get from it? Well, you know, Pete, I've been very fortunate here that in being born and raised in St. Paul, and I've been involved in civic affairs pretty much all my adult life. And one of the great opportunities I had was to be the chair of the St. Paul Area Chamber of Commerce in the year 2000 when we opened the Excel Arena. Very exciting for being the first Latino. But one of the things that I've seen through my travels around the country
is that these large urban Hispanic markets were growing, and soon in the 80s, they started, these Hispanic marketing agencies started popping up in Florida, New York, Texas. And so 1996, our company, Agular Productions, decided to bring an annual marketing conference here, Hispanic marketing. I went out and bought in 3 or 4 of the top agencies, Hispanic agencies in the country, brought them here to St. Paul, and we had our first conference, and it was a big hit.
Well, it looked like it. We had an opportunity to share with you as well this most recent one, the 18th annual one, well involved with not only sponsors but individuals who were there getting a lot of information. And I learned myself that the Latina is one of the fastest growing markets in business growth.
Oh, the Latino market is exploding, and I'm really proud of the Latino community. You know, these are the Hispanic women.
Yes.
And their name, they go by Latinas.
Yeah.
And they're a remarkable group of individuals, and even nationwide, they're the fastest growing business segment in the country. And again, that's that entrepreneurship, you know, the American dream, and I'll tell you, our conferences have been supported by the corporations here. You know, we have some of the best corporations in the country. Fortune 500, General Mills, U.S. Bank, Minnesota Twins, and on, have been supporting our conferences. 18 years now, we've had thousands of professional executives come to our conference. And what did they learn? Well, they learned that this is a market to go after, the Hispanic market. They also learned their competitors are going after that market.
Right.
So, you know, to all the listeners and viewers out there, you know, if you're in business, you cannot expect to be successful in business 5 years from now if you're not doing not only Hispanic but multicultural marketing.
You know, you're the publisher of the Latino American Today newspaper. What is the mission of that newspaper?
Well, you know, I'm new to the publishing business. I had a media partner of mine who had the newspaper, a good friend, Rudy Cardona, and he was going to sell the paper. And I thought, well, what an opportunity. What an opportunity to bring some important information to the Latino community.
Right.
And we added the word American.
Yes.
Latino Americans, and we are Americans, and sometimes we forget that.
Yeah.
And I don't, because I'm born and raised in this country, but we're talking about health and fitness, entrepreneurship, a lot of articles about Latinas.
Yes.
I think they're very underserved. Entrepreneurship, marketing, that's all entailed in this newspaper, Latino American Today, and people are really pleased with the content.
I like it. I like it a lot. You're also doing everything around town, as well as being president of our organization, the Minnesota Multicultural Consortium, Media Consortium.
Boy, I tell you, this is it's a great idea that came from Al McFarland and NEU with the Asian American Press, and they thought of bringing a consortium of the publishing businesses together, and it's a remarkable organization. Here you have Latino papers, African American, Native American, and all together in one group, and their main thrust is to bring media-related services to communities of color, and also bring some projects around media and communications, economic development. Very successful. So I give a lot of props to Al McFarland.
Good job with it in your administration, and we appreciate having you here with us as well,
Thank
Rick.
you.
And keep up the good work.
Thank you, Pete.
Rick
I appreciate
Aguilar.
it.
Thanks so much.
Thanks very much, my friend.
You know, weekly here on the Urban Perspectives, we present Shining Stars, highlighting people, places, and events that contribute to the culture of the urban community. Here's a look at our shining star, Cydni Shepard.
Hi, I'm Cydni. I went to Columbia College in Chicago, and I went there because it's a great music program full of a lot of colleges more insist on either classical or jazz study for music, and I didn't really want to do either of those, so I really wanted to do pop and R&B. Before my graduation, I was in a band called Art School Problems, run through Columbia, where we wrote our own music, and I wrote a lot of the songs and arranged a lot of the music for the songs. And then since I've been graduating, I've been getting more back into music production. I'm still a novice, but you know, I'm learning, and I've continued to be performing with the Sounds of Blackness and still writing songs. So that's what I've been doing. I was working with a company called Youth Performance Company, and so I was a lead in one of their plays called My Feet is Tired but My Soul is Rested. And at one of the performances, a girl comes up to me and says, you know, have you heard of the Sounds of Blackness? And I was like, well, yeah, my mom listens to them all the time. We listen to them. She was like, we're having auditions for new members. Would you want to think about joining? And I said, well, yeah, of course. So I, went to audition. I got accepted into the group. And so since my junior year of high school, off and on when I've been back here in Minnesota, I've been, participating and performing and recording with Sounds of Blackness. And I guess in terms of where I want to go with my career, it would be all the way to the top. I want to, tour, record, write my own music, sing. My dream is maybe to live out in LA and, pursue a career there, working with record labels, writing songs for other artists. So, yeah, that's really where I want to go and where I want to be, and it's always been my dream. So, hi, I'm Cydni Shepard, and you're watching Urban Perspectives.
In 1928, there were 42 urban leagues in the United States, including Minneapolis and St. Paul. Hear about this community-based organization and its importance to the African American community, nationally and locally, with our next guest on Urban Perspectives. My next guest has been the president and CEO of the Minneapolis Urban League since 2009. His mission is to provide human services and advocacy for policies that eradicate disparities and to provide African Americans and other groups with economic opportunities for success and prosperity. Please welcome Mr. Scott Gray. Scott, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for having time to be here to talk about important issues that are part of the community and that Urban League does a great job in working on. Speaking of which, each year the National Urban League comes out with a project that gives us a view of the state of Black America. Sure. What facts does that document provide?
Well, it provides kind of really a check-in annually, really, about where and how African Americans are faring in this community, in our communities across the country. And it really, as it relates to jobs, as it relates to education, as it relates to health, as it relates to wealth creation, those are kind of the areas that the report takes a look at.
Now, does the report also give the Urban League and its affiliates a kind of guideline to where to attack certain problems that we all know that are prevalent in our communities? Does it help with that?
Absolutely. I mean, we have 100 urban leagues across the country in many major areas in the United States. And, not all of our communities are the same, but we're facing kind of the same challenges in workforce development and economic development. We really need to move the bar and close the gap. So there are a lot of national folks that participate in the national project, a lot of folks that you know very well, mayors from various cities across the country, thought leaders, but we have to prescribe our own methods in our own local communities and really figure out how do we create solutions to close the racial economic gap.
Now, that is one of the Urban League's mission, is to provide opportunities for economic success in our communities, and I know here locally we do a Gateway to Opportunity. Sure. Talk to us a little bit about that and how it helps you to accomplish this goal.
Well, back in 2010 we launched the Gateway Opportunity, which was our new strategic plan, really to aggressively look at these areas of our gaps in workforce, education, health, and wealth. And so over the past 3 years, we're coming to the end of our strategic plan, the Gateway to Opportunity. We've been able to get 500 folks to work in meaningful jobs across the community, or the Twin Cities community. We've reconnected about 600 kids that were disconnected from school, had a number of out-of-school time programs, internship opportunities, mentoring opportunities, and got them back on the right track. And then we've counseled nearly 1,000 folks in financial services related to housing stability, foreclosure, and even making sure folks are signed up for MNsure. So we've really connected with a lot of folks, bringing them into the doors of the Urban League and taking them to their Gateway to Opportunity. And what we want to show is equity in those areas. How are we moving the gap locally, closing the gap bootstrap locally to make sure folks have an opportunity to be sustainable in their communities.
That's fantastic. I know that we just helped participate in one of your signature events, the annual gala, and there are others that you do. How important is this event annually to what you do here in our Twin Cities?
Well, this year's event was important because we brought our national president to town. Yes. He gave a very good message about the tale of kind of two cities. Even here in the Twin Cities, about the African Americans doing very poorly and the other community doing well. So he really was spot on with that message. But we were able to showcase some of the success stories that we've had over the past 3 years. A person moving from not thinking that they would be able to own a home to moving to home ownership, and now thinking about being a real estate mogul, yes. Owning more than one home. And so that was a good story to hear. We had a student who had some challenges in the traditional school system, not being able to finish, and we were able to bring them into our school, our contract alternative school, and graduate this person who had suffered a heart attack, who had suffered some other issues, some family issues, and you know, everything probably was written on the wall that they wouldn't succeed, and this woman graduated, or young lady graduated from high school and also is on her way to college. So we were able to showcase those stories, but it's really a celebration of what we've been able to do. We also recognize Dr. Aretha Clark King, who has been a trailblazer in this community, and just a wonderful corporate civic leader in our community. So we kind of bring all those things together to say, here's where we are, here's what your Urban League is doing, but we need to be moving forward. We can't go backwards to 1964. We got to be moving forward, and we got to accelerate the movement moving forward. Speaking of accelerate, what can we expect coming up yet this year for the Urban League? Well, we've rolled out a new initiative called the 13th grade, which is to reconnect those students that have somehow dropped out of school or even graduated from high school but don't have a pathway. We want to bring them into kind of a structured atmosphere and figure out what is their pathway and get them onto a post-secondary or a credentialed opportunity that leads to a stable opportunity for a job. So we're launching that. We're launching some new partnerships in our workforce development program. We launched a partnership with Hennepin County, North Point, and Century College at the Urban League to do some healthcare training. We have our laborers program that we continue to build every year to get folks into the construction trade. So we got a lot of things going on at the Urban League that we should be excited about in this community. Well, thank you so much for being here and explaining a lot of the great things that the Urban League is doing. Scott Gray, sure. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Well, I want to also thank you for watching the Urban Perspectives, and my guests, Kelly Robinson, Rick Aguilar, and of course Scott Gray, and you, the audience, for getting up with the Urban Perspectives. And remember, there are good things that are happening in our cities, and you can find out about it right here. Now enjoy the photos of the week featuring the 86th Annual Minneapolis Urban League Gala. I'm your host, Pete Rhodes, and thanks for watching.